Hey, what is up, everyone? Oh my god, it's the new year. It's 2025 now, and welcome back to the show. This is a Timeless Gamer show where our games and our bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain year after year. Hey, it's timeless. Happy New Year, everyone! And we are back for our season 13 premiere for this episode. Joining us right now, Sir Joe Banyagang Native.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us here in the Timeless Gamer Show. We have got an awesome lineup for you guys today. We're going to be discussing a lot of things, and hopefully, you guys enjoy our discussion. Maybe you guys might find it in your hearts to share the page into all your groups too. It would be great. Thanks very much. Back to you, Joe.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Joel, and of course, Sir Viraj. Say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year, and let's enjoy this very special show. Should be fun, like every show that we do.
Every show that we do.
And by all means, join in the comment section if there's because there's going to be a lot of polarized opinions. I can see there's going to be polarized opinions in chat, so should be good. Should be good. But yeah, back to you, Sir.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Viraj, and of course, Miss I.
Hi everyone, welcome to Timeless Gamers. Hope you enjoy our video game picks for tonight and maybe you can find some hidden gems as well. Happy New Year.
Hey, thank you for that, Miss I, and of course, the show captain for this episode, the one who suggested the topic, Sir Jose.
Hey everyone, how's it going? We're talking movie to video game adaptations today. Ooh, some good ones, some bad, mostly bad ones. See what everyone's choices are today. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Jose, and of course, let's take this opportunity to thank BitMap and Streamyard for making us one of their official affiliate, and of course, a quick shout out to our Retromancy cohorts out there, Shuffle Emporium and Retro Unlimited, and of course, Studio.ph. Previously on the Times Gamer Show, we ended the season 12 with our picks for computer role playing games. And if you are curious on what we have chosen, what games that we have chosen for that episode, you know where to do. Just go to our website, timelessgamers.com, or just listening to us talk. That's okay. You can just go to search Timeless Gamers Show on any major audio platforms, streaming platforms out there. And for remarks, comments, suggestions, what have you, inquiries, just contact us by sending those to our email, timelessgamers.show@gmail.com. So before we do our episode for tonight, which is games based from video games, let's just do a quick show and tell. In this portion of the show, we just show and brag some of the games, music, and all of other nerdy items that we got, for the last couple of weeks since the new year began. So, guys, who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go first. I haven't had much a chance to really shop around this past season. Um, lots of sales happening, but not enough yet to the price point that I want. My magical price point is always going to be $20. $20 per game because I'm not willing to spend more than $20 per game nowadays. The economy being the way it is. But yeah, one game that really popped up on my feed and I really wanted to get was a game called, let me just show this, Asphalt Legends Unite. If you guys are familiar with a racing game in the old days called Cruisin' USA, that came out on the arcades and recently made an appearance on on the Nintendo Switch as well. This one is a really good approximation of it. It's very arcadey. It's got lots of great locales. And the thing about it is, I know it came out on mobile first. It's a mobile game. You know, the Asphalt games have always been mobile games, but this one came out on PlayStation 5. And this is boasting that it is the supercharged edition. So I'm presuming that this has all of the cars inside of it. You don't have to keep grinding to earn them. You can race in all the different locales, and it's not very sim like where you have to tinker over all the gears and everything. This one should be a lot of fun. Got this for again my magical price point $20, and I hope to be able to stream it on my page Banyaga Native, and maybe sometime in the future in other pages too. And that's about it for my acquisition for the season. Back to you, Joe.
All right, baby, let's cruise.
Yep, cruising. Yes.
Away from here. All right, thank you for that, Joe. Well, I know this guy has a few. Sir Jose, what you got?
I got let's see. I got Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. It hit like around $20, so I was like, I'll pick that up. And then I got Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which I saw at Walmart for like $15. So I was like, why not? And then that's it for me, really. Just those two.
Cool.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Jose. Miss I, did your 12 on 12 already arrived?
Yes, they have. Wait, let me remove my background. So there. So I had just 4 games from the Data Blitz sale. The Batman Game of the Year edition.
Oh wow.
This Tokusatsu game, which is actually a strategy game. Surprisingly, it has Ultraman and
Kamen
Kamen
Rider.
Rider. And then Data Blitz WTF. What I ordered was supposed to be a Broken Sword collection that has Broken Swords 1 to 4, but they only delivered this one. I mean, it's just 39 pesos and under $1. So I didn't take pain to have this exchange because my commuting fare is much more expensive than having to exchange this one. Hi, Mom. There in the comments.
Hi,
And this
Mom.
one, I haven't tested it yet, but I have the old Sims 2 base game, so I like to try this one out. And the other items here, I find that the Sims 2 is much more enjoyable than 3 and 4. I don't know why. I guess because the not sprite, the characters are more cartoony, I think. What else? So, and I always have a January 1 buying online tradition, and what I got from Shopee are this one, Dark Souls, because I
Nice.
wanted to see what is up with Souls games. And yes, this game is challenging, but it's like it attracts you to play more. Unlike the other game last year, I said that was challenging but frustrating. This one isn't frustrating for me. I find it fun. And then Heavenly Sword. So you can see my types of games. Action RPG, Dragon's Dogma, Uncharted 3, I only have 1, 2. And then Phantom Pain because I have 4 already. So those are all my hauls for the new year. And these
Heavenly
are all actually cheap, like under 2,000 pesos or under $25.
Nice.
I would say PlayStation 3 is a good one to get because, and I've noticed the 360 prices have started to go up now because of the closure. And I think if you're going to collect for PS3, now is the time because when they close that shop here and you can't get these games digitally, yeah, I see the
Yes.
physical going up on that. So it's a good shout to collect. Heavenly Sword is a great title. It's an early release for the system, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun with it. I didn't really play all the others, but they're really good games, and I hope you enjoy them.
Yeah, and I completely agree with Raj. People are unloading their PS3 collections nowadays. You can see a ton of them in Facebook Marketplace. Honestly, if
Yeah.
you want to start collecting for a good system, that is the system to collect for nowadays. All right.
Sure.
How about you, Sir Faraj? What you got?
I got the I don't know if I showed you this last time. Okay, so this is a new mini. Well, I say mini console. It's by Retro Games. It's the Spectrum, a rubber keyboard. That's it. That's all that comes in. Well, that's pretty much all that comes in the box. I have a controller for a bit. Obviously, the original Spectrum didn't have it. It's a 1982 piece of hardware developed by a British entrepreneur called Clive Sinclair. People were gaming on microcomputers here predominantly in the UK. Anyone who's like into retro games or grew up in the era will find this interesting. Any casual gamer will think this absolutely sucks because it does graphically. It's not exactly the most appealing thing, but this is a lot of nostalgia for many people. In fact, in the newspaper here in the United Kingdom, they actually said that this outsold the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X over Christmas. They sold already 40,000 units or something silly like that. Silly. But it's a really good computer. What's so good about it is, okay, you've got a bunch of games preloaded on it, but you can also add your own games on it as well via USB and SD, got HDMI out, USB power. It's just a plug and play, really. But it's really, really one of the... That's what I got. So I got that, and I don't know if I can call this a pickup or it's a game. You probably think this is really, really niche. So I'll show it. Let me just get it to you. It's an add-on for a toy that I have. So I know you guys don't have one, but I have one. This is a Taito Egret Mini. My background is blending with it. So again, this stupid background, this virtual background. So you see this bottom bit here with the money box. Oops, I dropped this thing on the bottom. That is where you can put money in. It's like a money box, but it basically elevates the system so it's more presentable if you want to display. That's really, and it came with a game called Memories 3. So on the side of the Taito Egret Mini is an SD card slot where you can actually buy games and collections for it. So every year, Taito have launched a collection of games for their system to keep it relevant, I could say, or active, because you've got like 40 odd games that it came with anyway or something like that. So there's 10 on the SD card or something like that, and you play them, and they're really fun to play. They basically, this particular edition, they had a game called Toplander, which basically lets me take advantage of this thing here, which is my cyber stick, because it's a big boy toy. It's a big boy toy, and basically it's trying to recreate the arcade experience at home, and that's something that I've recently started to in recent years started to really enjoy. All these, arcade games that are locked to the arcade that we can't officially play unless you know how to use MAME or whatever. And even then, it's nice to play it with real arcade controls on your home TV. And I think a lot of...
Remind me, Viraj, is that the one that whose screen rotates?
Yes. I don't know if did I ever show you this? I don't know if I showed you. Yeah. So you can just push it down like this. There you go. And you do
there
that.
You go. Nice.
So you can play vertical shoot 'em ups. It's
very cool. Very cool.
Cool, and it's good, and yeah, it's probably the best. There's the Astro City Mini. I actually prefer the Astro City Mini, but that's because I like the Sega games on it. But I think in its size class, in terms of the value for money proposition, this is the one for the time being, because they offer you. It's the fact that you can have more games for it. You can choose. You could have this or you could have this. And the fact that Taito who work with them too, who do the emulation on this, and basically they're all part of some same sort of united group or something, which made this for them. So Zuiki made the board, M2 did the emulation, and Taito got work with them together to do it. But yeah, it is a lovely mini arcade to collect these sort of things. This has actually gone down a lot in price. Just the base unit has gone down a lot in price. So you might want to have a look at it. It's a lovely thing to have in your collection, in my opinion. If you're not just if you collect mini arcades, but if you're into these sort of niche Japanese plug and plays. And me, I like my plug and plays. So I think you get more bang for your buck. And there's a lot you can do with them. And they're actually they're not cheap crap. Like the Neo Geo Mini was absolute rubbish. This thing I shouldn't really even call that absolute rubbish, to be honest. It has its merits, I suppose. But in terms of the way the controls are, it's not cheaply made. This thing, like the Astro City Mini, was made with love. And they're both very, very good mini arcade machines. And that's what I've collected over the Christmas period. There's loads of other things that I collect, but they're just things I buy and sell on. And they're not worth showing you, to be honest. You've seen them all before. This is something that I thought I'd show you that might be of interest. Anyway, that's me. That's my pickups that I've got for the new year, my toys. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Viraj. And as for me, my first pick up for 2025, and ever since moving here in Queensland, I got Trails of Cold Steel 2 for the PS4. I do have the collector's edition, but this is the just a standard one because I have no intention of opening that one, the other one, of course. And I got Persona 5 Tactica for the PS4 as well. I do have the PS5 version, but I got this specifically because I cannot cheat my way on the PS5 version. On the PS4, I can. Love you, Sir Dan. And of course, I got myself a Nintendo 64 finally after all these years, just so that I can play WrestleMania 2000. I got this. WWF No Mercy and WCW NWO Revenge. So all wrestling games. All right.
There you go.
Because before RPGs, I'm a wrestling fan. I'm a wrestling game fan. Only reasons why I should get a Nintendo 64 just to play those the very arguably the very best wrestling games out there. Except for GoldenEye. Another reason why to play and why you should get an N64. All right, that's it for show and tell, guys. Now for the meat and potatoes of the show, which is the
Yeah, let me interrupt for a moment. Miss Eileen, you seem to be in trouble now because we have a comment here from Miss Jane Tadeo. So many games. That means you're gonna get audited. Okay.
yeah, she knows. She knows.
So many.
I mean, that's
many
fine. I
machines.
mean,
I have disposable income.
No, but your stuff you got. I mean, not to be patronising or anything. Your stuff you got at probably a good price. It's not breaking the bank. Whereas me, the stuff I
Definitely
spend
not.
is crazy, silly money. But no, good for you. Because I know you're very shrewd. I know you're very good at finding bargains in this side. So,
Yes. Extremely frugal.
well, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't worry. One day you'll win the lottery and you'll be able to buy whatever you want. All right?
Hopefully. We have a saying in the Philippines, magdilang anghel ka, as in have an angel tongue wishing good luck, and it will come true. Hopefully, Sir Viraj.
Money will come. Money will come.
Mhm.
Well, that's my
Thank
brother
you.
said. Anyway.
All right, Joe. Let's get the show on the road.
all right, it's video games based from movies. Okay, now, there have been a lot, like a lot, ever since the 70s up until now. Okay, so not to be confused, everyone. So what we're talking about here are video games based from the movies. Okay, not video games turned into movies. All right, uh, that's a separate. That's a topic on a separate occasion, which we already did way before. That might need a part two, actually. So, so specifically, so they came out as movies first, and the movies were so good that they had to make a video game out of it. So let's go now with Sir Say. Let's go.
All right, so movies to video games. Why did these games have such a negativity toward them, Sir Joel?
Well, in general, I believe it's because of the fact that they're viewed as cash ins or cash grabs by most people. When you see a video game come up that is based on a movie, people usually assume it's a low quality effort. People assume that they're just tossing in whatever random assets they can so that they can get more money or milk more money out of a franchise. And it's not an unfounded opinion. A lot of games in the past, video game movies in the past, have been utter crap. And
E.T.
there you go. Miss Eileen is putting forward a few already. But the thing is, a lot of them are also good. And they suffer from comparison to the games that have come before that were not very good. So the reputation has been earned, but I would say it's not completely true anymore. Would you say that that was the case, Jose?
Yeah, there was a lot of them. There was a lot that it seemed like just because there's a big hit movie, it's got to have its video game counterpart. But there was a bunch of them that weren't really that good. A lot of them, I think, were geared towards kids. So I know there's people who grew up having fond memories of these video game movie tie-ins. Because a lot of the time they were Disney movies or stuff like that that had the video game adaptation. But there have been some really bad ones out there.
E.T. on the 2600. I think famous one, isn't it? The 1983 E.T. game. And that's where it all began, isn't it? We all know what happened with that, the controversy where the game got buried into the desert. And when you read into this, I think they only had like a month. The guy only had a month to make this game, or 2 months or something.
You guys might want to check our previous episode with our interview with Howard Scott Warshaw, the guy who actually made the E.T. game. But yeah.
Bless him, because he was under so much, and the same sort of thing happened with, I think, Raiders of the Lost Ark or Temple of Doom. A lot of these games they suffered because the film would have like a release date, and the developers would have such a short turnaround time to make them, and they'd outsource it. And what would happen is the studio making the game, most of the money would be going on the license, I would assume, to get that license.
Probably.
And there'd be less money to sort of develop the game or the person making the game. And that's why, even the NES, with Nightmare on Elm Street, I think Andrew Video Game Nerd made a really interesting video on it on YouTube, going into it. And you know what happened? LJ, anything with LJ and a badge on it was a bad game, on the NES. So they've had a reputation of just being cash grabs because they just didn't have enough time to finish the game. Not enough love was poured into it. The game would sell anyway because it says Nightmare on Elm Street, the video game, or it would say E.T. on it, and people would think, "Oh, I've seen the movie. I'd love to play the video game." And people were sucking into this in the 80s. Definitely it was rampant in the 80s, but that isn't the case. And what we will obviously later explore is good ones that had good movie licensed video games, and there are quite a few, to be honest. And they don't deserve the bad rap that they deserve then, to be honest. But because of historically, this is what's happened. Yes, historically, retro games in the retro game world, we did sort of see that, and E.T. was the beginning of that whole thing. So that's my thoughts on it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in there, but yeah.
Oh no, you're good. Anyone can jump in whenever they have an opinion or anything. Miss I, do you have anything to add?
I have to say I'm not really familiar with how bad reception is of video game based movies. Oh, movies based on video games based on movies. My brain got fried at work. So I'm not sure why people.
Different episode altogether. Nah, that are movies that are based on video games, but we'll talk about them in the future.
Yeah, we could do that. Yes, that one as well. Maybe people hate it because people see video games as childish. So if the target audience of the movies are adults and they see video games, they don't take it seriously, I suppose. But other than that, I'm not really familiar with how people started to hate such genre of video games.
Well, I'm sorry, Miss Eileen. I was just saying that it's a different thing altogether. Video games that are based on the movies oftentimes pilloried for not being very good. And then, of course, there's the opposite where there are movies based on video games which almost universally suck. So, anyway.
Yes.
Sir Joel, what say you?
With regard to,
I meant Sir Joe. My bad. I was staring at him.
So, games from movies. So, a couple of things really, and this might relate to what Miss I mentioned, because the video games coming from movies are cursed from which video game technology they were born with at the time, based on the technology that they were at the time. Speaking of which, your E.T., Nightmare of Elm Street, Friday the 13th, when those movies came out, which were the systems at the time? Your Atari 2600 at best, your ColecoVision, your Intellivision, right? And I would say even the earliest Apple computers, right? So, I mean, as game developers, then you just have to work with what you got, and with the simplistic technology at the time, you can only choose which aspect of the movie that you're going to portray. You cannot handle everything. You cannot really translate all of the things that were mentioned in the movie into a video game. So you only choose like an aspect of it. Like for example, uh, for your Friday the 13th and Nightmare of Elm Street, you just have uh, the first video games that came out from those would be, just slashing, would be victims. You either play as Freddy, or you either play as Jason, or vice versa. You just need to stay alive, escaping from those two. With ET, I'm not even sure what was the concept from. I mean, Sir Howard Scott Warshaw kind of explained uh, his methodology, his concept for ET. I can't really really remember what he mentioned, but like Sir Viraj mentioned, he only got like what, less than 6 weeks to come up with a concept. And with what happened with ET. So ET on the games just running around in circles trying to find uh, pieces of a communication device so he can communicate back to his mothership so he can vamoose out of there. While at the same time trying to get away from the men in black trying to capture him alive. So that was supposed to be the shtick. So unless you were a kid from the 70s or the late 70s or the early 80s, if you're paying attention to the manual, you should know what to do. But if you're the type of person who's not really reading all of that, then most likely you're gonna hate the thing. You're gonna hate the game because you don't know jack shit what to do, where to go. All right, and uh, gaming technology also evolved as the years went on, and with such movies, also evolved. Movie technology and gaming technology also evolved hand in hand. So the more uh, the more modern we are, the more modern times that we go into, games. I mean, movies. Then expect the video games should have a lot more capability on translating a little bit more concept, a little bit more content coming from the movie themselves. So yeah, uh, that's it really. We'll mention a few examples and what sticks out good and what sticks out bad on those games.
Mhm.
Back to you, Sarah.
Okay, so leading into that, was there a game that you guys truly loved or were completely disappointed with growing up, or that you guys have experienced?
Ooh.
Sir
Yeah.
Viraj, with that noise, you go first.
The first, well, I'll just say very briefly, the first sort of video game to movie transition I ever played was on the Sega Mega Drive, and I had seen the movie Aladdin. It just come out in '92, and Aladdin. I don't care what. I don't know anyone who doesn't love Aladdin as a movie. I love that film. Okay,
Yeah, me too. I
great
love
film,
it.
great Disney film. Robin Williams is the genie. I think it's the first time they got an A-list actor to do voice acting in an animated Disney movie. It was amazing. And
Heck, I love the animated movie trilogy.
yeah, well, yeah, we'll talk about that another time, perhaps.
Yeah.
But he it is a great video game. Well, so a great movie. The video game then comes out. Now, obviously, there was a SNES version and a Mega. I'm talking about the Mega Drive version because they're two different games. The Mega Drive version was amazing. I love that game. A great game, and the way I love the animation, how it flowed, the soundtrack, and on the subject of video games that had no business being as good as they was, that's one of them because they had a very short turnaround time to make that game. And I remember like reading interviews and all sorts of things how Disney would be there making sure because they did the animations for that game. Disney and Virgin worked very closely together with Sega because it was a collaboration, and they pushed that game and it came out and it was amazing. I think it was like the most popular or best-selling game that wasn't like built in-house on Sega for that platform for the time. I remember reading about it. So very, very good game. So that was one of the games that I was very pleased with. As for like, oh god, I don't know where to begin with disappointments in terms of video game movies that I played or owned which weren't that great. Okay, so the film, fine, I'll say Terminator 2 Judgment Day on the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo. They're the same game, rubbish. For a film that's that great. And what was so disappointing is Terminator 2 Judgment Day is an amazing film. One of the best of James Cameron's film, one of the best science fiction films out there. And a great action movie, one of the best action movies out there. And it played so poorly. It was just a poorly designed video game. I see you all guys nodding there. You agree with me. So that's probably the most... It's disappointing because I love the movie that much, but they had to make a dog shit game next to it. And that was the worst thing about it. And like, how dare you do that? How dare you besmirch the greatness of this film by putting a shit video game in it? That's what really was the disappointing factor. The game should be as successful as the film. It should be as good as the film, but it's not. And that's the one that hurts. That hurts me the most. Terminator 2 Judgment Day on Sega Mega Drive and Super Nintendo. Both of them suck. That's my view.
Was that the one that was based on the arcade game?
Personally, the arcade Terminator 2 game, amazing with the light gun. Yeah, that's the one you play, and it was also ported to the Mega Drive, and I think it was a Super Nintendo port as well. Yes, you play the Mega Drive version because it's better, because it's got the extra resolution you need, and the gun works better with it if you're going to play it. But yeah, Terminator 2, the arcade game, brilliant. That's the one you play if you want to play Terminator 2. But yeah, that Terminator 2 Judgment Day game, absolute shit. I don't know what. I think Flying Edge, which is a subsidiary of Acclaim at the time, did it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Apologies if I got the name wrong of whoever developed it. Whoever developed it, you're a disgrace because it was a great IP and you fucked it up. Sorry, excuse my language here. Sorry about that. But that's how strongly I feel about it. You messed up a really good franchise with that, and ever since then, Terminator just wasn't a good franchise. I enjoy the sequels of Terminator. Don't get me wrong, but 2 was at its peak. But that's my opinion. I'm sure you all agree with me anyway. But yeah, back to you. What do you guys, your guys, and your favorites and worst pick?
Sir Joel, what would you say?
Well, one that disappointed me in the past was not necessarily a video game based directly on a movie, but had its ties on license to the movie, which was 007 Nightfire. It's an old game. James Bond game on the PS2, if I remember correctly. Yes. And it was touted as as the first appearance of Pierce Brosnan, if I recall correctly, as James Bond on a video game, and his likeness being there. And everybody was really excited for it. But when I first got to play it, they were not able to get him to voice the character, which was a severe disappointment. When you go to play James Bond, you want the entire James Bond experience. And seeing his likeness there, being voiced by somebody else who doesn't even sound close to him, was jarring as an experience. So they rectified it later on with the James Bond Everything or Nothing. That was if you ask me, one of the definitive James Bond games ever on any system. But 007 Nightfire was a disappointment because it did not feel completely like the game that you were sold on. Sure, it looked like Pierce Brosnan, but it didn't sound like him. So I was very disappointed on that one. I didn't even get past the first 30 minutes of it, considering how disappointed I was. I just threw it into the pile and then forgot about it. Never finished it.
Sir Joe, do you have any?
Do I have any? Well, I'm checking. So I'm checking up Wikipedia of all of the games based from movies.
That's what I'm doing.
Just to see if I'm familiar with any of them, because I hardly played any. To be honest, if there would be one, and I'm not even sure if it's tied in from the movie, Double Dragon, the arcade game, the fighting one, Double Dragon. I'm not even sure if it's tied in the game, because if you're going to look at some of the background of that video game, they took some footages coming from the movie, And so when I saw the movie back in the early '90s, and then I played the the arcade fighting game. They don't look anything. Uh, they don't look anything the characters from the movie. I mean, it's not like this game is not like Street Fighter when they used when they digitized the actors from the Street Fighter movie and then into the game. Here, it's just like 2D sprites. Uh, uh, like I mentioned, they look nothing like from the movies, and I'm like, no, that's okay. I mean, who's Alyssa Milano's character? Rebecca. Who was that? Natalie. Is it Natalie?
I didn't bother to
Or
remember her name. I just remembered
yeah,
her
yeah.
going
I
into.
just remember. I just remembered her ass. That's it, really.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I remember. No, seriously, that's all I remember from that movie.
Yeah,
That ass
sure.
shot coming from Alyssa Milano.
Oh yeah, agreed.
I think her
Don't you
character's
think?
Natalie, and I'm like, okay, because I remember Alyssa Milano's character is not really a fighting character, but in the game she's actually fighting. So yeah, I mean, uh, I'm disappointed in a way that they don't look like the ones from the movies, and I'm not really say no. I'm not disappointed. Disappointed is the wrong word for it. I have mixed feelings on this. They made some of the characters up. They added some characters in the game that's not from the movie, and even if they add, and even if uh, the character was from the movie, uh, they look nothing like them coming from the movie. The video game characters don't look anything from the movies. And even the final boss, the boss in the game, I'm like, where's this blonde hipster dude from the movie? He's not
Yeah, but I
there.
mean, the flip
It's,
side.
it's, it's just some Chinese guy,
I mean,
it's
you picked a video
Chinese
game
martial artist guy.
movie that's based on a video game. I mean, can you not see the irony in this suggestion that you've chosen? Because that video game that was based on the movie characters don't look anything like the video game, and now you're complaining that the video game that the movie that's based on that movie that is based on a video game don't look anything alike. Can you not see the oxymoron in all this? Like you pick something that's destined to fail.
No, no, that's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I mentioned because I'm not really entirely sure if that game is tied in
To the movie.
specifically from the movie. The only thing that you'll see there is just some of the movie clips running in the background, but that's it really. That's all that they took. So most likely they just took liberties for this game.
Listen,
Anyway,
the reason you
out of
mentioned
all,
this
out of all of the video
is you
games
wanted
based from the movies, that's the only thing that I can come up with.
you just wanted to talk about Alyssa Milano. It's okay. That's what this was about. Let's move on.
Hey, it's Alyssa Milano. Hey, we will do our Double Dragon movie review eventually. Anyway,
It sucks.
we will gonna talk more. I mean, we will talk more about that as in the future. Who else? Back to you,
Miss,
Sir Jose.
Miss I, what did you hate? What did you love?
I would say I loved more games than hated because I'm not sure if I hated anything. Most of my favorites were 90s games, like a special mention on the one on my back in my background,
Page
Page
Master.
Master. I love the version specifically on the Game Boy compared to other platforms because it's quite different from the other versions. This one is quite a with I would say a platformer, but it's also a moving platform where it's like how do you describe it? Because it's hard. Yeah, it's like a wall moving, something like that. It's vertical, and that's sort of its time element that you have to platform around, for lack of better term. And it felt like you were Macaulay Culkin's character in the movie where you are entering the book. So I was a kid and it was fun playing that on the Game Boy. It was hours of fun. And when you got the Super Game Boy on the Super Nintendo, it's much better. And then, sorry, it's a list of games. I'll be quick. Sir Brad was talking about Terminator earlier. This
No.
one, this one on the Game Boy.
Come
I would. I, most of my games are Game Boy games. This one, I'm not really sure how other people perceived it, but I'm looking at it with nostalgia glasses. So this is something I grew up and enjoyed. I had no idea about the movie or how other people loved or hated this one. And as for James Bond games, I would say I enjoyed From Russia with Love on the PlayStation 2 and PSP, as well as Quantum of Solace on the PS2, not the other versions. Mainly because both are third person action games. I love to see James Bond on the video game, not as first person. And what makes those two games awesome is they're both voiced by their corresponding James Bond actors, namely Sean Connery and Daniel Craig. And of course, those two follow the movie very well. They had, apart from the voices, they had the iconic scenes from both movies, the gadgets, the memorable characters. So I remember seeing Lotolinia in the first, the From Russia with Love, even with the spiked shoes. Oh, they really got the movie here. It was exciting. And another one, Hook on the Arcade. That one, the Robin Williams movie. And then Van Helsing because of the Onimusha's gameplay that I know other people hate. I love it. Other people, to each their own, and because Hugh Jackman. And I think that's all the
Of
games
course.
I enjoyed. But I'm not sure if I hated anything because I tend to be forgiving. So if I curse on this podcast, I really hate it. No cursing this time.
I do remember Miss Eileen's playthrough of From Russia with Love on her streams. That was a
Yeah.
really good game. And Sean Connery actually commented that the in-game model of James Bond looks better than the original, than the real thing. Sean Connery said he did better in the game than he did in the
Which one has a job?
movie. N64 had Odd Job, I think. Yeah.
it was a
GoldenEye?
GoldenEye, yeah. Mhm.
Wow.
Movie of Ice, third film, Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Goldfinger.
odd job.
Yeah.
I was thinking Goldfinger. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
Miss Mother.
James Bond. James Bond. James Bond.
You guys do some good accents. That's really good. I think you guys do really good accents. I'm just saying something nice, and I think the fact that Sean Connery had something nice to say about something is a good thing. So it must be good because he doesn't say anything nice about anything really. If you listen to him in interviews, some very interesting choices there, Miss. I mean, Page Master. I had the Mega Drive version. It sucked.
It's different. The Game Boy one.
It's different. Yeah, so I think I'll have to revisit the. You said the SNES one was good, so I might have to give that one a go. But I don't know. I'll have to give it a go with a discerning eye. But yeah, like we mentioned before, they had very short turnaround times to put these games out because they wanted to get on movie buzz and make sure that it sold copies. Some interesting choices. You mentioned, was it Nightfire? Yeah, even on the Game Boy Advance, that sucked. That's the truth. Everything or Nothing was also bet on the Game Boy Advance. So I think they've learned their lesson with Nightfire. It just wasn't the game that people wanted it to be. And, it did have Brosnan's likeness into it. And I'm sure he got paid a pretty penny because he's on the cover. But it's a shame that he didn't pay him enough, or he didn't want to lend his voice to the game for whatever reason. Although Brosnan was in GoldenEye, and that's seen as probably one of the best movie tie-in video games of all time. And it came out long after the film had been released, GoldenEye. So I thought that's interesting for Nintendo 64. But hey, it is what it is. Good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Right. What else is next?
All right. Let's see. Just really quick for mine. Game I really loved is the one I'm going to talk about. So I'm not going to talk about it about what game I love. But the games that I was kind of disappointed with was Small Soldiers on PS1. I expected it to be more like the movie, and it was basically based in the land where they're from. And it was kind of just, I remember looking really ugly and muddled. Everything kind of blended together. I wasn't really a fan of it, so good thing I didn't buy it. I borrowed it from my friend, and I was like, "Here, you can have this back."
You know what? I really thought the alien toys would be the bad guys, but it's the other way around.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you guys think that there's a genre of choice that lends itself to a better movie to game adaptation?
I think it depends on the era and when that game was developed. And it's like what Jose said, with limitations of hardware, and why one of the reasons why movie to game adaptations weren't good is because the technology wasn't there for them to actually, do. It's a very abstract way to think even those times. Like, oh, how am I going to put this into a video game which is 2D? How am I going to? It won't allow me to have that effect. So I think that's a detriment in terms of that, and I don't think a video game necessarily has to follow the story, 100%. Like, you got Hogwarts Legacy that's just come out, and people are crazy over it. That's based in the Wizarding world. It doesn't have everything in the Harry Potter movies, but it's around that thing. And I think now we're living in an era where you can have a video game of any genre because the technology is available. It all comes down to the developer and how they want us to follow it. With games created in the 80s and 90s, I think it depends on, like, for example, the Super Star Wars games on Super Nintendo, that followed the story quite well, generally speaking. All three of them did. And you implemented the Mode 7. It's just that the games were ridiculously hard and they could have made it not so challenging. So I think it depends on the direction in which developers want to put it in. But I do think, all I will say is technology was a limitation in the early days. And I do think that, you talk about, I think Jose made a point about Nightmare on Elm Street and things like that being a slasher, and that's it. You can still have a good slasher video game on an 8-bit system. It just has to be made with love. It's just that these things were rushed out. And I think back in those days, the title of game designer wasn't really that much of a thing. It wasn't an official thing. They were just programming or they were making something. There wasn't that much talent back then. There wasn't enough talent then. I think we have a lot more talent now, better technology now. So games based on video game IPs are going to be better. Like, look at Ghostbusters Remastered. That kicks the arse of every Ghostbusters game today, even the Mega Drive one, which was the best of that era, But even that has its limitations. I think it could have been a longer game. There could have been more elements to it. But I think they did the best they could at the time with the Mega Drive Ghostbusters game. Although I think it was deemed racist because they had no Winston Zedmore in the game. But that's another story. Yeah?
Right.
No Winston. And that somebody actually made a ROM hack and they put Winston back in that game, funnily enough, recently.
You know what? They said Winston is the one driving Ecto 1. And then the white guys are just out there.
Well,
I mean, Winston was the driver.
What's even more racist is they got Winston in the new Ghostbusters, but it's funny how he can jump higher than all the other white guys. What they're trying to say,
because white man can't jump.
There you go.
But can he swim?
It's a movie.
What is this? So I think in terms of Ghostbusters, that's an example of like how they can do so much more with the Ghostbusters lore. How the 3D realm, the evolution of 3D graphics and memory, the memory to house the 3D graphics and definition and sound and CD-based sound, better sound and all this stuff, and having bigger teams making video games can make a superior product in the end. So to answer your question in regards to that, are there certain genres that lend themselves better to movie to adaptations? I'd say maybe depending on the movie itself and the subject matter. Obviously an action movie like True Lies, it should be a run and gun or a shoot 'em up or an action game. Of course, because the movie should match it. Movies like Harry Potter, it's an adventure style game, obviously, because it's like it's an adventure themed story. So the video game has to match the theme of the genre of the film fundamentally, but it has to also be done well. And I think you can still change things around. You can still have a puzzle-based Harry Potter game. You can still have all sorts of things if you wanted to. It just has to be made well and made with love. And I think that's fundamentally the case with all video games. But that's my thoughts on that point.
Anyone else have anything to add?
I agree on Sir Raj's points. I suppose it depends on the game. And just for some silly argument or something, just imagine, let's pick something Oscar worthy like the Shawshank Redemption, and you turn it into a beat 'em up game. So like, how would you do that? And then think about the Expendables, and you turn it into point and click. It really depends on the genre of the movie. There isn't one genre wherein you could turn all video games into turn all movies into video games. It really has to depend on the movie.
I would still play those, Miss Eileen. Anyway, I would still play those.
The sisters are gonna come and rape you. The sisters are raping you, and you're like, if you don't win that fight, you're getting raped.
I kind of want to see that.
But I can see
A
Sir Joe playing that game.
expendable game.
Joe will play that game and lose that fight just for fun. He's looking down, not even denying it. There we go.
All right.
Oh man. All right, so let's jump into our game choices. Sir Joel will head us off since he has other things to attend to.
Yes. All right. Well, it's my game for tonight. It's a little bit cheating because, as Joe pointed out, we are planning on doing a different game episode in the future based on Lego games. But as I pointed out to Joe, there's going to be a ton of Lego video games that we can discuss. This one is not going to be any problem discussing today because there's going to be a lot of other Lego video games that we can talk about. But this one is the video game based on a movie that I believe encapsulates the best of the best when it comes to video games based on movies. It's called Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. This is the one that came out most recently. If I remember correctly, it was about 2022. And this is part of the Telltale Games series. For all of you who are familiar with the Lego video games series, all of them have been done by this company called Telltale Games. Now, this one is what's the right word for it? It's a remake / remaster of one of the Lego Star Wars complete saga that came out in the past. But this one has so many major improvements to it that it can be considered a completely different game altogether. The original Lego Star Wars original saga back then was great in itself, but this one has voice acting. This one has fully realized environments. If you are at all any kind of Star Wars fan, this is the game to play because of the fact that you can go to all the places that you've always wondered about in watching the movies, the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the crap, whatever came after that. This one, I mean, no shade to all the guys who love the sequel trilogy, but I'm not touching them with a 10-foot pole. But this one is the I'm going to have to offend Dan on this one. Dan is of the opinion that one of the very best or the very best Star Wars game is Knights of the Old Republic. I'm going to have to say, Dan, this one far surpasses that. You might think it's a kiddie type of game because it's Lego, but no, it's not. Sure, it's a button masher kind of game. You know, you just press the what? No, that's Lego. That's Hot Wheels. That's Hot Wheels. Yeah, no, that's Hot Wheels. But this one is the kind of game that has opened up the entire world of Star Wars. If you wanted to actually explore all the places that you normally saw in the movies, seeing the Death Star, seeing the Naboo, seeing whatever that is. Yes, all the Star Wars places you would go to, and it's fully voiced. Granted, they didn't get most of the original voices, but they got good approximations. Not like 007 Nightfire, where the voice was absolute crap. This one, they got really good approximations of the voices of Star Wars. They had two original voices there, which would be C-3PO, the guy who voices C-3PO. He came back to voice
Daniel. Yeah,
yes, exactly. Mr. Daniels. And the guy who voiced Watto, I never got his name. But they got them too. So they got really good approximations of the voices, and it has the entire saga from beginning to end, plus a lot of funny little things about if you've played any kind of Lego game, you will know that it's a good mix of lore accuracy and humor. If you like, in the old Lego Star Wars game, when the big reveal, statute of limitations. Anything more than 10 years ago is fair game. When Vader revealed himself as being the father of Luke in the old game, he would just point to a picture of him with, Padme and Luke as, as a family photo. But this one, they actually had, no, I am your father, fully voiced. And it has amazing vehicle sequences too. So, for those of you who love to play Rogue Squadron,
race, really?
yes, pod racing. It has pod racing. It has the trench run, the X-wing trench run. Running through the wars in I forgot the.
I mean, this just choice that you picked pretty much answers the earlier question, which is, does this lend itself to any specific video game? Because of the technology now, it's not just one genre. You can see like it's got everything in there. You got the adventure exploration part. You got the obviously melee attacking and all that stuff with lightsaber, this sort of stuff. And then you got like trench runs. You got pod racing in there.
Yes.
You got a bit of everything, and that's amazing. And I can understand what you said, like just from looking at it, it's the best Star Wars game ever made. You know what I'm saying, and it does offer a lot. I mean, it's a Lego Star Wars game, and I suppose the whole point in the Lego Star Wars games, because all the Lego games are generally just a great deal of fun. There isn't one that I can say is really bad. There's none of them like that. They're all good. It's just Lego, and I think that I think the barrier for a lot of people when buying Lego, whenever I sell the Lego games on my table at these markets, is it's for kids. That's what they see it as. It's cartoony. But if you actually play the game, it's funny how the Lego Star Wars games is better than the actual canonical Lego, like the Star Wars game that Lucas.
Agree. Yes. Completely agree.
That has to be the case. All these adults buy like Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I remember playing that, and I remember like fighting General Grievous. Oh, this is hard, man. And I wasn't really enjoying it. I thought it was a good game graphically and all that, but when you play the Lego version of it, that's just more fun. It's just a lot more fun to play. I can understand. I can wholeheartedly understand exactly what you mean by saying this is actually the best one, and you're not wrong at all. I'd probably, even though I play the game, I'll probably agree with you because I get the vibe. I get it.
Very true. I mean, the fact is, they made sure that this is as accessible as possible to all audiences. And let me tell you, there's so much to do in that game. We're talking like I'm already 10 hours into the game and I haven't even gotten past episode 4 yet. It's collecting all the studs, using every Lego character has a unique characteristic. So like some of them are force users, some of them are sharpshooters, some of them are platform specialists and everything. You can control R2D2 with his gadgets and everything. There's just so much to do. And if you are any kind of completionist, this is about as close to like Mass Effect for kids as you can get. And lots of places to explore, lots of things to do, lots of little mini the minifig secrets to find. It's a great experience overall. Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga. If you just wanted to play the original trilogy, you could just jump into that particular game or that particular movie and play the heck out of it. Don't even have to touch anything else, which I'm not going to do the Rey saga, which is going to get erased anyway. Trust me, it's going to get erased by the Veil of the Force in the future. But yes, it's the fact that this game is the definitive movie based on a video game that can be as much fun as possible for all ages. So if you're looking for a good time, both for yourself and your family, for your kids, no matter what age, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga is the game to get. I played it on Xbox. It's there on Game Pass right now. Try it, get it, make sure that you enjoy it. That's it. Back to you, Jose.
All right. Who wants to go next? I don't want to necessarily pick someone, but
I'll go next since I like talking. My choice is much older than that, and it goes back to that era of 16-bit style games, movie games, and like we discussed, there were limitations of this period. So I think this game has a lot of merit because it didn't have the memory or capacity that the previous game that we were discussing had. The game in question I'm talking about is the Terminator on the Sega Mega CD or Sega CD for you in America. Okay, now again, this game came out in '93 here in United Kingdom, and goodness me, it was expensive because of the nature of what it was being played on. Because you had to have the Mega Drive, then the Mega CD as well, which cost a fortune when it came out, and only the super rich would be able to have this game. And I only found out about this game many years later when I revisited it. And I thought, wow, this is actually a really good game. And you're talking to someone who had the Terminator on the Sega Mega Drive, not the Sega Mega CD. And even though they had the same developers, there were two different games completely developed by two different teams, but same company. Now, this had the FMV scenes from the movie in there. Obviously, the resolution looks poor. Here you go. There's the disc. It was in dual cases for us in the UK, Europe region for Sega Mega CD, not the clamshell cases you guys had in America, which were actually better for Mega CD. Anyway, again, follows the movie in terms of like you got the cut scenes and everything that's going on, generally speaking. But in short, it's a run and gun shooting action platform game. That's what it is. Again, same kind of intro. It's actually got the score by Brad Fiedel from the movie. So it's got the exact same Terminator theme in stereo. So amazing. And it's an amazing game. It's definitely one that I'd recommend you all give a go now. That emulation is now an option and you can actually play it that way. And that's the way I play it because it costs a fortune. I saw a copy of this game for £150 on Facebook Marketplace. It's ridiculous. But anyway, it's there. And here's the game. There's Carl Reese. And it starts off in the future, and there's the Terminator. Again, one thing that you can't hear is the soundtrack of this game. It was developed by Tommy Tallarico, who is famously known for his soundtracks for the era, and he helped with the Mega Drive Aladdin soundtrack. So there's the limit. There's the connection, and obviously Virgin Games were the ones who developed this as well. So yeah, basically you start off, back in time. There's like 3 levels before you get to the time machine. So we're still in the future, and there's like a few levels before you can like fight the boss and go back in time to 1984. But yeah, there's a lot of creative choices when this game was made. Like they just basically developed Terminators, or they developed like what these machines would be in the future. Obviously, they're using artistic license there. I think that's the term I'm looking for in terms of what it could have been like. Because we didn't see much of the future, sadly, with the first Terminators. It seemed you saw like a few clips as to what the future was like. But
question.
Yes,
I can see TX1000 as Arnold there. Is that really Arnold the Terminator or Arnold the Commando? What is it?
I think they're the proto, like the sort of basic run off the mill T800s that they put out. You have the ones with the endoskeletons, which are just exposed, which is the T700s, I believe, in Terminator lore. So I believe that's what they are, and that's obviously the more finished product. Obviously, they're easier to destroy in the future because you've got weapons that can destroy them. When you go back in the past, you got like 20th century weapons, and you do meet obviously the Terminator there, and that's another story. But you go back in, and obviously it changes the game. It becomes a lot more difficult when you go to the past. And the difficulty curve is reflected level by level. Again, you have continue points in the game. You have different difficulty settings. So if you want to play it on easy and try to get through it, you can. But even that has its challenges as well. But it's definitely a much more complete Terminator game, because the Mega Drive one or the Genesis one only had 4 stages. This is more like 10. I think there's like 11 stages on this particular game. So it's a much more bigger experience. And it showcased that because of the Sega CD's memory, you can actually make a game fuller and longer with a lot more details and a lot more content, a lot more animation, better, like superior sound if you wanted to. There's a lot you could do with it. And that's one of the things I liked about this game. So for the era, it is actually probably the best Terminator game that there was, because obviously it was not just the first game. There's obviously the second movie I told you the game was shit. But this is obviously in 1984 Los Angeles. Carl Reese Terminated. So yeah, and there's a lot you can do with this game fundamentally. I know I haven't really sort of explained it as well as I can, but I think the video that you're seeing pretty much showcases what it is. sadly, what this game is only available on Mega CD. It's never had a port on any other platform. The only way to play it is on the Mega CD. And I know why, because of the license. It's locked to it. Nobody wants to pay for it and resurrect this particular game. It was great for that particular platform. This is the scene where you go in LA and you're, this is before you get to, rescue Sarah Connor in the police station. But this is basically it. A great soundtrack, which you obviously can't hear because your license. Well, obviously we'll get shut down if we listen to the music. But it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun getting through the levels and going through it. And it's not a game that's too taxing, because I find that with these sort of games, you just want to sort of enjoy it and have fun. And I think this is fundamentally a fun game based on a great movie, and that's basically what you want. So yeah. Terminator Zero was awesome, JDM says. I've not played that game, sadly. I'm sure even after this, there are probably better Terminator games that happened in, for other systems. I know there was a Terminator Rise of the Machines game on PlayStation 2. I remember that. I didn't play it though, and I didn't hear the best things about it. I think at that point it was being compared with other games that were great and that offered that sort of thing. But this game, comparatively for the time, as a game and as a franchise game, was great, and that's why I like this game. And it still holds a special place in my heart, because it's still a good game, and it makes you feel immersed, like you are Kyle Reese, like you really do need to get through this to save the humanity, But yeah, that's basically, you want to feel immersed or invested in it. I don't think the later Terminator games have really given that in terms of experience. Yes, they're graphically better. They offer this, and that. But the details are in the gameplay. And in this particular game, there is a joy and a sense of, I need to get through this. But anyway, what do you guys think?
I feel like if you take out all of the full motion capture videos, this game could have fitted in the on the Mega Drive or the Genesis cart.
I think you could have, but this is another thing you have to understand, which is this would have been a 32 meg cart to fit all that in there, and there were a very small selection of 32 meg games. Like I think Super Street Fighter 2 New Challengers was one of them, and I think there were another two. But that would have been more expensive to manufacture than having it on a disc. It's all to do with manufacturing costs. But the crazy thing is, this thing would have done better on the Mega Drive, because more people have a Mega Drive than a Sega CD. And in all fairness, it might have cost them more to make, but they would have sold more copies. And I think the game would have been more successful, and more people would have enjoyed it. And I think it was an anti-consumerist decision. And Sega should have, they should have probably put it on the Mega Drive, but you would have lost the soundtrack on this, and the soundtrack is worth listening to because it is a really good soundtrack. So, goodness me, it's just one of those things.
So what? They thought that, this game is so good, people will be buying the Sega CD.
Well, yes, I mean,
was that the aim for them?
Well, they were pushing for Sega CD, and Sega were looking for developers, and they probably offered them an olive branch to sort of like put it on the Mega CD. But then I think come 1994, they realized that the Sega CD isn't shifting enough units. I think there's only like 2 or 3 million Sega CDs were sold worldwide. So it wasn't a popular format. And for example, Phantasy Star 4, one of the best RPGs on the Mega Drive, was actually designed with Sega CD in mind. Sega pulled the plug on it and said, no, we're not going to put it on Sega CD. We'll just put it on the Mega Drive we'll just give you more memory on a ROM cart and you can sell it. But that was £100. Phantasy Star 4 was £100 on the Mega Drive, where it would have been less than half that if it was printed on the Sega CD. But you're expecting someone to pay £200 for an add-on to pay them £40 for a game, when it might be better if you just pay £100 for that game. So it's funny. It's like a bit of a false economy there, isn't there? Like nobody's got, like back then, like £200 for a Sega CD or Mega CD2 was still a lot of money. It was a lot of money. £200 that's £400 in today's money. That's do you understand? Like it was a premium add-on. It was for the high end. It was ridiculous. No one can afford that. It's ridiculous. And it's a shame that the game's locked to that, but thank goodness for emulation. It allows us to play this game in a more affordable manner now, because if you want to buy this game, like I said, I saw it for £150 on Facebook Marketplace. Maybe if you're lucky, you get it for $100. But it's still a lot of money to play on a game, and you'd have to buy the Mega CD if you haven't got one for your existing Genesis or Mega Drive. It's just unless you're a passionate or a fan, it's not, in my opinion, it's not worth it. And why not choose emulation? But that's for next week's episode. That's for next week's episode. But this is definitely a game worth checking out if you love Terminator and you want to play a good Terminator game from the 16-bit era. This is the one to play. That's basically it. This is the only one worth playing, and maybe the arcade version with the light gun. But this is the one that if you want a platform run and gun adventure with a banging soundtrack. I can't emphasize just how good the soundtrack for this game is. And for those of you who listen to me, I love my sound in video game music. So there you go. All right, that's my final thoughts. Great game, worth playing, worth checking out. Any other questions, or are we ready to move on to the next game?
So Jose,
Jose, I think you're still on mute.
My bad. No, I was saying AVGN did covered that game on one of his episodes. He did like a bunch of Terminator 2 games. But if no one has anything to add, we'll just move on to the next person.
Yep.
Since we did Terminator, let's go back to Terminator with Miss I. Oh no, not Terminator. You're doing Home Alone. My bad.
Home Alone.
I remembered your game.
Technically speaking, Kevin was a Terminator there.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two burglars. Yeah.
He's terminating the dragon, if I remember correctly. So yeah, my main choice for tonight's topic is actually another Macaulay Culkin movie, which is Home Alone 2, particularly not the first one, the Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, and it is on the Game Boy. And I know there are other versions of this one. There is on the the NES, the SNES. Sorry, I say it's SNES, Sega Genesis, and DOS, I think. But the one my basis of choosing games is the one I grew up with, and the one I choose is here on the Game Boy. Oh, that's cool. Although Kevin's dream, I'm not sure that's it, but I'm curious.
that's not it. Lost in New York. There you go.
Makes me wonder what that one was. Kevin's dream. This one is
now you're gonna make Miss Eileen buy another one. Okay.
That looks like it could be a ROM hack or something. I don't remember that game. But go on.
I think so too. So this one is the beginning of the game on the Game Boy. And again, there are other versions which are somehow similar to this one, and it's colored. The game starts, as you see, when the concierge team, played by Tim Curry, and he finds out that Kevin, quote unquote, stole the credit card. And the initial stages are just Kevin running around the hotel floors. And if we see some gameplay there earlier, but there is Tim Curry in Dot Matrix.
It's a pretty good approximation too. I love Tim Curry.
Yes, and just to I guess not spoiler because this isn't actually a spoiler, but look at that one for those the benefit of those listening. We are seeing also Marv and Harry in Dot Matrix form. They look accurate, I would say. But in the end, when Kevin reunites with his mother, he also reunites with his dad. It's quite different from the movie. And the dad looks nothing like John Hurt. Like, who is that guy? That's not John. So the game is, again, you run around in the hotel trying to escape from the grip of the evil concierge. And you run around getting pizzas. And, there, I was hoping he would slide. If you remember from the movie where he slid under the character lady staff played by Dana Ivy, and he slid through the elevator. And you can get other weapons there, like the necklace, the one he tore on the streets when he got it from the vendor during Christmas. And other stuff here you can pick up are, I forgot the other ones, but apart from pizza slices, you can get a whole pizza pie, and you get another life. And cookies as well, where you regenerate your hits. And that one's Harry, I suppose. So you have different weapons you can use. Like I said earlier, the necklace. This one is like a toy gun, and it just disables your enemies, and you couldn't get hurt by them. And I don't remember an umbrella lady on the movie. Who's that one? And animated inanimate objects that are not animated. That's scary. I don't remember those on the game. And then after these levels on the hotel, he escapes at the back door, like in the movie, where Harry puts his arm or hand like that with the iconic M from the first doorknob in the first movie. And he also escapes, like in the movie, where he pinches the French lady's bottom and blames it on the sticky bandits. So in general, it follows the movie, and then he runs to the streets, like in Central Park, and into the apartment building, which is supposed to be his Uncle Rob's what you call this? It's still under renovation apartment building. So there are a lot of nods to the movie in terms of the places and maybe some characters, some elements like the slide, even the necklace and others. And I would say I enjoyed this game because as a kid, I enjoyed this and it was quite challenging. What made it challenging as well is like older games, you don't get unlimited lives, and it's when you see it on the Game Boy, because it's not colored, there is a stage. I'm not sure if it looks like a cave with bats under the apartment building. I guess it's a basement, but it looks like a cave. And because of the limitation of the screen, it's like you're gonna strain your eyes. What is this? There are platforms like N and M dash lines. Like you have to be accurate in jumping onto those. So there really was a challenge in this game back in the days, especially for a kid. I never got to finish this game, and I streamed this last week or the other, some 2 days ago. And first time on stream, I shamelessly used save states. Like I didn't care with TF. It's so difficult to play the game.
You know, Miss Eileen, there's no shame. Trust me on this one. I'm old. I use it all the time. Just do it. Enjoy it the way that you can enjoy it. Trust me. Mhm.
Yes. And there also, thank you for that, Sergio, because there's some quote pride as a gamer that you don't quote cheat.
Yes,
And
true pride.
Bullshit.
Just enjoy.
Where in the rule book is there?
Mhm.
Where? Show me.
Let me
You know,
check.
there's sure there you can. Some people enjoy beating it in the highest difficulty with one coin and no save states or whatever, and that's their enjoyment. I'm not gonna hold that against them. But if you find yourself needing these things like me, and that's the way that you enjoy, then go for it. Honestly, it's your time, it's your game. Nobody has any right to dictate how you enjoy your game. Trust me.
Yeah. Plus, we don't have the time to sit around and try to play a game over and over and over.
Go ahead, Joe. Say the line.
Say it.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah. There you go.
so in this game, yes, Sir Raj.
It looks really good, actually. I mean, I think one of the biggest misconceptions I have, I need to shake it. I think we all can have it during this era, is that the Game Boy version of the game is just an 8-bit transition of the 16-bit one. This is wrong for me to think this because I just assumed that. This is a different game to the 16-bit versions on the Super Nintendo and Sega Mega Drive. Different game completely. So it's definitely one I want to check out now because I love Home Alone. Call me crazy, but I'm a big fan of the films. Loved them. Even when they came out, I thought, and they're just timeless. Like we watched it this Christmas. Did anyone else watch Home Alone over Christmas this year? Of course you did.
Yes, I did.
It's just a
Just
funny
a record until 2, okay? Home Alone 3, 4, 5 do not exist.
Okay,
Nada,
we're talking,
nada.
Oh, I like 3.
Look at the first two. We're talking Macaulay Culkin,
Just the
And,
first two.
but they were great films, and you want this goes back to the point I made with Terminator and with it being a Terminator. Well, I'm really upset with Terminator 2 and the console version. That the film has to, if a film is as great as that, at least make a decent video game for it, guys. That's what I think. But with Home Alone, and there was actually a video with Angry Video Game there with Macaulay Culkin. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
It was on the show. You saw it. And they went through all the video games, and he was saying how busy he was, throughout this period to even play the video games that were based on him and the movies he was in. And they went and played all these video games that he was in. They didn't cover the Game Boy stuff, mind you. I think they just covered the console stuff. The only good console version is the Mega Drive, the first Home Alone game, which I love. I love the first Mega Drive game. It's a different game where you have to set traps and do all sorts of things. And there was a NES version, but it's the Mega Drive version, that first Home Alone game, that actually works really well. I did play Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, and it was the Mega Drive version. It's a SNES. I believe it's the same game on the SNES. I could be wrong, though. You can correct me for that. But that was a soulless enterprise playing it. I did not enjoy it. I got through the game, but it's like there was nothing that really made me want to play it again because the color was crap. But then when I look at the Game Boy one that you showed me, it's a different game compared to the Mega Drive one I have. And even though the Game Boy has limited hardware, you can tell that that game on the Game Boy looks like it was made relatively well with all the detail that they put into it. Yes. And there's more effort put into the Game Boy one than the 16-bit version. So it's definitely worth me having a look at. So I'm going to look at that game. I'm going to give it a go as well, since it's on your recommendation, because I love Home Alone. And what sickened me throughout that period is how they were just all crap Home Alone games. And in my mind, the only good one was the first one on Mega Drive. And now you've shown me this. So I thank you for this, because I want to give it a go.
Well, I'm pretty sure Viraj is pretty excited over the announcement that they're making a sequel to Home Alone, where Kevin is, the homeowner now, and the Wet Bandits.
Yes, I heard about it.
Yes,
that makes sense, because that's canon to the first two stories. It's him. And Macaulay Culkin, we all know he's had a bit of a tragic life, to be honest, and what his parents did, and his love life, and all the sort of, and the crowd that he fell into, and how he went a bit aloof, and now he's made a comeback. He's got a wife, he's got a kid now, he's doing well for himself, doing what he's doing. And I think Hollywood should open him back with open arms, and I'll be happy to see his new film, because,
question.
Yes.
Is John Pesci, are John Pesci and Daniel Stern still alive to do that?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
He didn't die in Home Alone.
No, I mean,
he was in The Irishman. Do you know The Irishman?
Yes, Joe just did that. The Irishman.
Really?
They still show up.
Why are you wishing that these people are dead, man? They're good actors, man. What's your beef?
What the hell am I thinking about?
I want to see them again. I want to see them come out of prison for the new Home Alone film.
Yes,
I mean,
agreed. Yes.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting.
That film I can see that film grossing $500 million if they all in it. I can see that do a good job.
For chemistry alone, it should be those three. I mean, it won't be the same if one of them is missing.
No,
it should be Macaulay Culkin, Daniel Stern, and John Pesci.
Yeah, Joe Pesci.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
Give it the Cobra Kai treatment. Get Macaulay Culkin's, kids getting into trouble, and maybe the Wet Bandits teaching them not to. I don't know, something like that.
Sticky Bandits.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, it'd be good though. We'll see. All right,
Home Alone would be like what? And this would be rated R. Like they're really in for the kill. Like they really want to.
Jesus,
no, I mean, look at it this way. I mean, the Wet Bandits would be so old now. I mean, if they go to jail, then what for? I mean, hey, we're old. Might as well just off the guy.
Something like that. Or they have some students from that in jail that get out with them, and they enlist them to get revenge.
Or there could be a twist, and they're reformed. All right, they're reformed. Okay, there could be some sort of a twist there. So
I'd go for that. I'd go for that storyline. Yes.
Or how about they buy a property, and then it's Kevin Now's breaking in.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting twist.
Revenge.
Kevin grows up to be a criminal, like the Wet Bandits or the Sticky Bandits, and now the criminals are reformed.
It's like Marvin and Harry doing all of the planning, and it's up to Kevin now to to break an entry.
Before Disney,
before
Disney got Fox, Ryan Reynolds was trying to produce a R-rated Home Alone movie called Stoned Alone. but because Disney bought them, and then Disney released another version of Home Alone that was a PG movie, so we never got.
Home Alone is owned by Disney now. Okay. Oh yeah, Fox.
What is it? Oh well.
Okay.
Right, moving on. Unless there's
All right.
anything else that we talk
Moving
about.
on.
I guess I'll go
Oh,
next. Oh, go ahead.
hang on. Speaking of keeping the gaming experience pure, let's go now to Sir Dan and
Oh yeah.
his choice of games based from movies, and then to be followed by Sir JDM. Okay. Sir Dan doesn't like cheating, yada yada yada.
No save states.
Let's see what he has to say. And Sir JDM to follow.
Hello, Tans Gamer Crew. We're talking movie games. So why are movie games so negatively thought of? Well, I can think of a lot of movie games tie-ins from the 80s and 90s that were just crap, basically. And you could tell that the developers used these movie licenses as just a way to push out any old crap, knowing it would sell on the strength of the license, especially back then when we weren't all wise to, we didn't realize that that's what they did. We just saw the movie license and lapped it up. I think the 90s had quite a lot of bad movie tie-ins, but I just think the 80s, especially on the home computer systems, had a lot of shovelware, real bad. I mean, people talk about it on the original Nintendo Entertainment System when you had the likes of Nightmare on Elm Street. I actually don't think that's too bad a game. I think it's quite decent, but there's a lot of those types of games that people just don't like, didn't connect with. I remember was the Running Man for the Amiga. I remember that was kind of like when I started catching on to the fact that licensed games were a bit shit. So, but funnily enough, not long after that, came my choice of actual quality movie license game. One of my favorites, and that's Batman for the Sega Mega Drive. Batman is just a really, really lovely, polished, smooth title. It is a fantastic game. I mean, the film was released in 1989, and it was a surprising film. It got a lot of hype, a lot of promotion, but the dark direction it took was definitely not to everyone's tastes. I remember it being a bit divisive. Not divisive, divisive. So I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a really cool film. But what also came out with the Batman movie was the god awful Prince album and Bat Dance. And Bat Dance were just dog shit. It really were bad. So it was kind of like a bittersweet thing going off with the film. But the game blew me away. The game just took all the good stuff that came out of the film experience and made a fantastic game out of it. And it's just, like I say, it's really polished. It looks great. It sounds amazing. The music in this game is off the charts. It is absolutely incredible. So, I hope, Sir Joe, that you're editing this video of mine with some fantastic Batman music blaring out. Feel free to shut me up for 10 minutes so everyone can have, or 10 minutes for however long, so everyone can have a listen to that awesome Batmanic beat. But it plays well. It plays great. The what I love about the game is they've structured the stages really well. You can always tell, for me, you can always tell when people put effort into a game with the stage layouts and the challenge designs. And that's what this has. This has great stage layout and challenge designs. It's got amazing pacing. It's one of these, I think it's a very odd thing to do where people take a game in whatever genre. So let's say an action platformer like Batman, and then they try and add other genres in there to break the action up. It's a great thing. If it's done well, it works. And I love that approach. But not many games actually do that very well. A lot of them get carried away. A lot of them put shoehorn in different sections that don't quite work. but Batman does it brilliantly. Yeah, it adds in racing sections and flying sections, shoot 'em up sections that break the action up superbly. This is one of the best paced games that have ever been made, ever, without a shadow of a doubt. Now it's quite short. It's very easy. I think that's the main flaw with it. But it's just so well done. That ride you go on in that brief period is fucking brilliant. It really, really is. And it is, like I say, it's one of my favorite games of all time. It's just a deliciously lush game that manages to capture the film, and it does. That's the thing. To say it were a 1990 game, and memory space on the carts were quite limited. It only includes a few cutscenes, but there's enough there to give you a taste of the film. What I love about it is it really does follow the film, and it follows it. It's one of those games that you say, when you see things appear, it's I remember that bit happening. I remember that bit happening, and it does that brilliant. It really, really does. There's one particular bit that I love where when you take down Jack Napier in his gangster form, when you beat him, he falls into a vat of chemicals, and that as a kid was just like a magic moment. Like, oh wow, they've included that. So they really have done it. They really nailed it, and it's one of them that. Well, it's one of these games actually. It makes me wonder what the hell people are playing at when they review games like this, because I've read reviews about this a few times, and I've read a lot of people grade it like a C grade or like a 7 out of 10 game because it's short. And for me, that's like, I don't get it, because it's short and perfect. It's like, it's like if you're going to sleep with a woman and you're going to bang her for 20 minutes, so long as them 20 minutes are intense and great, and you're getting you're getting your full on's worth, that's all you need. You don't need to be there for 5 hours. You know what I mean? You just want that 20-minute bish bosh bash, super intense, super thrive, and jobs of fish, and that's what Batman gives you. So it is bang on. I'd say enjoyed the game more than the movie, to be honest. I think the movie's great, but for me, the game's a 9 out of 10. The movie's an 8 out of 10. So, for this to follow the movie after, this kind of purified what the movie gave me, and I really, really like that. Is there anything that could have been added? I mean, there's a few more cutscenes that could have been in there. There's a great little cutscene where you see Batman fire his batarang and it splits in the movie. They include that in the game. That always stands out. But there's not many. That's about it. There's a few. There's a great still of the Joker dead on the floor when it ends. There's a great build up. There's a nice little some stills of Vicky Vale and Batman and Joker and that to start the game, but there's not much in between. They probably could have put a few more cutscenes in, but that type of I'm the kind of person that once I've seen it once or twice, I'll skip it anyway. I'm more about the action. So, and yeah, I think that this is. I think this is also the perfect genre that lends itself for retro gaming to movie games. I think a lot of movie games were action platformers or platformers, simply because you get to control the character, you get to be the character in the movie. So I think this, it because it's got those extra bits of variety, and with the shoot 'em up sections as well, I think that works as well. So I keep recommending these games, and you've got to remember these games only take 20 minutes of your life up. You know what I mean? You will be playing dog shit RPGs and hyped up games to fit in with crowds that are like 200-hour long. You know what I mean? Or 60 hours long. You just have to give these games 20 minutes, and they will give you some absolute excellent, just quality gaming, and that's what I love about it. It's just you can find, you sit down and wait for your dinner to cook or whatever, and you play through it. It's fantastic. So I hope you all have a good rest of the show and a good day, and keep your gaming. Time lasts.
Hello, Timeless Gamers. Juan DeMarcos here of 123 Go Retro. And I'm here to talk about the video game that I chose that was inspired of a movie or a film, whichever you prefer. And the game I chose for this episode is called Enter the Matrix, developed for the original Xbox and the PS2 by Shiny Entertainment, and released by Infogrames, or formerly Atari, in 2003. So this game was written and directed by the Wachowski brothers, who are also the creators of the Matrix franchise. So Enter the Matrix is an action platformer game set within the events of the movie hit 2003 movie Matrix Reloaded. And the game focuses on the exploits of Niobe and Ghost and their operator Sparks, crew of the Zion ship, the Logos. The story begins with you retrieving a package from the crew of the Osiris, delivering a message telling the rebels that the machines are coming to the last civilization on Earth, which is Zion. At the start of the game, you can choose either to play as Niobe or Ghost, each with their own unique moves and gameplay. So as Niobe, you can drive through specific levels, while Ghost takes care of the pursuing enemies and agents. If you're a fan of the Matrix like myself, you will have fun using focus or bullet time, same in Max Payne, to perform fancy kung fu moves and gunfighting to defeat your opponents. Unless it's an agent, then you will have absolutely hard time, as they are very tough. So without proper armament, all you need to do is run, like in the movies. The cutscenes are actual footage from the film, as well as B-rolls that coincide with the story of The Matrix Reloaded, if you have seen the film. One instance, during the freeway car chase in the movie, where Morpheus was thrown off a trailer truck by an agent, it was Niobe's car that broke his fall. Then prior to this cutscene, there was a gameplay where you are trying to chase the trailer on the freeway. So as a Matrix fan, I really enjoyed playing Enter the Matrix for that, during that era at least. The cutscenes are a nice addition to the lore, and most of the original cast even lent their voices for this game, including Keanu Reeves himself. Awesome guy. The controls didn't age well to today's standards though. It was quite stiff, especially during the driving parts and when you aim your weapon while doing some drive-by shooting. This could possibly be the reason why it had mixed reviews, although it still sold 5 million copies after its release. So if you're looking for some slow-mo hand-to-hand combat and Max Payne-esque bullet time shooting like in the film, I'd highly recommend this game. So what are you waiting for? Jack yourself in and experience the Matrix on your PS2 or the Xbox with Enter the Matrix. So once again, this is Juan DeMarcos of 123 Go saying goodbye and enjoy the show.
All right. So that was Sir Dan with Batman for the Sega Genesis, and Sir JDM with his game Enter the Matrix for the Xbox PS2.
I particularly enjoyed Dan's, interjection of it doesn't have to be very long. It just you just need to do it very quickly. The short
20 minutes
version.
and that's it. 20
Yeah.
minutes, woman. He compared it to being with a woman. What sort of a crazy?
Yes, that's sage words. Sage words. I completely agree with that one.
20 minutes? That's too long.
Wow. I don't want to sort of open up a can of worms here, but that's But anyway, I think on his thoughts on Batman, yeah, he's right. It had a great soundtrack. That's one of the things that stands out about the first Batman game by Sunsoft. And yes, you have the alternative. You got a gameplay where you got like the side-scrolling action aspect of it, and you got to shoot them up. That breaks the game there. And like he said, it's not like the longest game. It's not going to tax you like a lot of the newer games now today. And it's just quick, easy fun for sure. And again, for its time, and this is the key thing, and he touched on this in his video. The amount of ROM memory cost a lot of money. Then I think it was like the first 8 meg cartridge or something like that. Or it wasn't even that. I don't even know if it was an 8 meg cartridge, so I could be misquoted it. But it didn't have much memory on it. And for what they did, for the amount of memory that they had, they really did push that game to its limit for what it was. And yeah, it's a solid game for what it is. I personally don't like it because I find it a very stiff experience. Personally, I like my games to be a bit faster, but that's understandable. But yeah, I mean, his thoughts on the movie in general. It basically, regardless of what people might have thought, it dominated the 1989 box office. Ghostbusters 2 couldn't compete. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade couldn't compete. 007, License to Kill, couldn't compete. This thing was the movie of 1989, regardless of what you may or may not think. And it's nice to know that there's a video game that could be deemed as good, if not as better than the movie, which is what Sedan's saying. So, yeah, definitely one that I need to really probably give another chance, because I don't really give that game a chance when I play Sega games, to be fair. Because I'm not really a fan of the Batman games on the 16-bit era, of the 16-bit era. Batman Returns sucked on the Mega Drive, because Malibu Entertainment license did that, and that was just poor. I mean, there was a super scaling level on the Sega CD version of that game, but that was okay, I guess. Then there was Batman Forever, where Acclaim sort of used the Mortal Kombat digitization, and they used that on Batman Forever. And it doesn't matter what format you play that game on, it sucked full stop. And even though it had 6 buttons and you could do a lot of things with it, I never liked Batman Forever. And to this day, I don't know anyone who likes Batman Forever, in spite of it having more memory to sort of have it. And then I don't know if they ever bothered with a Batman and Robin game, but I do know there was like the ones based on the animated series, and that was good. There was a Batman animated series game that came out afterwards, and that was decent on both the SNES and the Mega Drive. And there were 2 different games, but the Mega Drive one for me really was the one I enjoyed. I think it's The Adventures of Batman and Robin, and that's based on the animated series. But that to me is the only really good Batman game that really stands out. That's not based on the movie, it's animated series. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it.
Well, if you're looking for a good Batmobile game, play the Batman arcade game, because you get to drive all the Batmobiles from all the different eras. Yeah, give it a shot, Viraj. You might like it.
Okay, I like the Batmobile. It's my favorite movie car.
Yes.
Yeah. What's this? People said a lot of things against Michael Keaton part of Batman. I wonder where those people now. And you know what? A lot of people said the same thing about Henry Cavill being Superman. You got and this new guy, David Corenswet, who's going to be Superman. I'm going to stay quiet and see just how well he does, because you never know. These actors can really prove you wrong these days. And I think that the acting talent these days has gotten really good. I just think that the writing is crap, and that's the problem with movies these days. Hollywood need to pay these writers because they keep going on strike, and I think that's the reason why we're getting a lot of poor films. There's not enough good writing talent out. Well, there's a lot of good writing talent, but they're not paying them, so we get all the poor writing. So
I am still curious about the Nicolas Cage Superman, though. That would be interesting to see.
Oh, the 1997 one is supposed to be Superman Lives, and Tim Burton was supposed to direct it, and maybe it's a good thing it didn't happen. From what I've read about it, it's probably a good thing it didn't happen. But it would be interesting just to see it for what it was. But that you do obviously, is it spoiler alert with the Flash? He's in. You see like a CGI version of him in that new Flash movie. It's interesting, but that's as much as we'll go in regards to that. But anyway, whatever, it is what it is. Let's see. But yeah, in regards to people saying what they said about Michael Keaton, they were so wrong. they were so wrong because I think he's a great Batman. Personally, I love him in Batman and Batman Returns. The reason he didn't return for Batman Forever is because he didn't like the script and he didn't want to do Batman anymore. That's the truth. Which is a shame, but I can understand why. It was probably the wise decision to step away from it because we saw what Batman Forever was like. You know, it was a bit silly, really. Because what's her name? Nicole Kidman.
Kim Basinger.
It's Nicole Kidman.
Basinger, yeah.
The third one. Kim Basinger was in the first one, but in the third one is Nicole Kidman, and she was acting like she was horny every moment when she was with Batman in that film. I thought, what is going on? This woman is throwing herself at him like she's proper horny for this, this Val Kilmer guy. I thought, what's going on? What is this film? It's a joke.
Chicks in the car,
But like, you've got this two-faced Harvey guy, and he's so overacting Tommy Lee Jones. Apparently, I found out afterwards. Tommy Lee Jones hates. He really hated Jim Carrey because Jim Carrey would overact, and so apparently Tommy Lee then thought, okay, I've got to overact as this character. And later on in a restaurant or something, because Jim Carrey said this in an interview, that he said, "You're nothing. You're a buffoon, and I can't understand you. I don't understand you as a man." And he just didn't like Jim Carrey for whatever reason.
Well, and to be perfectly honest, Tommy Lee Jones' character there wasn't even Two-Face. He just played a dollar store Joker there. Honestly, the only time that he showed being a Two-Face character was at the very, very end when he flipped the coin. That was it, And the two warring personalities fought.
Yeah.
But it should have been that way all throughout the movie. The Joker.
Yeah, I think they did too much in that film. There are too many villains. Well, two villains was maybe they cramped it a bit too much. Maybe they just didn't go together. The story didn't work for them. This stupid little thing that plunger device that he made for whatever. It was just a bit far fetched. And they put nipples on the batsuit. That's some of the story as well.
Now, there's a fan theory that the first two are the actual Batman happenings, whereas Returns and Forever. Forever and what was the Batman and Robin?
Batman and Robin
were TV shows based on the happenings in the actual first two movies, and people are just watching a TV show in that universe. So it's something.
I mean, it's nothing for me to say this, but I bought the Batman anthology, on DVD, and I couldn't wait for it to come out in the UK when they released it, so I imported one from America. Watched. The third film I can watch. Okay, I can laugh at it, but the fourth one, goodness me, I put the director's commentary on while watching that film, and it becomes a comedy because you're listening to him defend this piece of shit, and you're laughing at what his excuses were. So if you want to watch the fourth Batman film, watch it with director's commentary. It's hilarious.
Hey, George Clooney apologized for killing the franchise for 10 years.
He said, it was just a bit of fun. I did it because it was fun and all this stuff. And he actually goes on about nipples on the batsuit in the director's commentary. People in Europe were up in arms about them putting nipples on the batsuit. Like, people in Europe should have better things to do. The way he said it in the commentary, I just started laughing. It's hilarious. That's why you need to watch it, just listening to his thoughts.
There's George Clooney doing it and wrecking something, and there's Raul Julia who, goes into it and makes the film the best thing of all time. So there's two different extremes. Anyway, back to Show Captain.
But yeah, so Enter the Matrix. We didn't talk about that, did we?
Oh yeah, that's true. Enter the Matrix. Haven't had a chance to play it actually.
It's a great game. You not playing?
Haven't had a chance to play it. First movie was a lot of fun.
That game
never really got into the rest.
It went
I
platinum.
meant to try.
It went platinum. That's how good Enter the Matrix was. I remember selling so many of those with PlayStation 2s back in the day when I worked in the shop. They went off the shelf. They flew off. Yeah, they said, "Have you got Enter Matrix? I want that game." And it was such a good game. It was like the best Matrix game ever made. All right, so you should play Enter the Matrix. Give it a go. Play it now. That's it. I cannot sanction your buffoonery. That's exactly what he said.
I'll give it a shot.
My only excuse why I haven't really heard of the games was what year this came out. Original Xbox and PS2. This was around that time. I was hooked on PC gaming. I don't even have a PS2 at the time. But I did watch a trilogy, and I had so many questions.
What? You didn't like the Matrix trilogy? Is that what you're saying? What's your problem?
No. I mean, I liked it. I like the trilogy for what it was. It's just that there's just some plot holes or
Problem
not
was,
necessarily plot holes, but just some nitpicks at that time when I
yeah,
watched it,
the
especially
problem was,
with Reloaded and what the fuck was happening during the third act of what's the third one, Revolution.
Yes.
the
Hmm.
problem was is they had enough money to make the studio gave the Wachowskis a choice. This is what I read. They could have made a second movie and a third movie, and that was it. But instead, they filmed the second and third movie back to back, and they made
At
this
the
thing,
same time.
and then they made the Animatrix as well. Yeah, I don't know if you watched the Animatrix. That's actually some of it's quite good. Actually, half of it's good in my opinion. The other is mid. It's not bad. It's actually all right in the Animatrix, but it's the way they dealt with the money and how they wanted to expand the Matrix. And I know why they did the Animatrix. I actually like the Animatrix, but
Animatrix been made by Squaresoft Studios.
yeah. So you had so you had that aspect of it. You had but what I will say is, look, the Matrix is what it is. The fourth film is absolute crap. Do not watch it. You won't get that time back in your life. It's probably one of the worst sequels ever made. And unless you're a diehard fan of the Matrix, you have to see it. Fair enough. But that makes no sense at all, in my opinion. It's just all over the place, and they just made it to make money. And the Wachowskis, as far as I'm concerned, they're just a one-hit wonder, and that was the Matrix. Okay, and you got the Matrix trilogy if you like those other films, but anything after that, Cloud Atlas, I didn't like. Jupiter Ascending, I didn't like, and now this Matrix film that they brought out, I didn't like. So anything the Wachowskis touched now, I don't really want to go through. And
Yeah.
it's all over the place.
They lost their touch after they lost their penises. Anyway, so Jose, your
Go
game,
there.
go.
Oh goodness me!
Oh, Jose, you're still on mute.
Mike.
Double check that.
I keep forgetting I hit my stupid button on my mic.
Yeah, okay.
But for my game, I went The Lion King on Super Nintendo.
Look at that ugly car. Yeah.
Oh my god. I love the Lion King movie. I love the soundtrack. So of course I had to play the game. And I don't know. I don't think it's as hard as people say. Like maybe it's just me, but I remember having trouble with it as a kid, but after a while, like I could just fly through the game like nothing. And I recently replayed it, and yeah, I could see the annoying parts people might have with it, but it was really good. There's like 10 different levels. I forget how many you are actually young Simba, and then the rest of them you're adult Simba. There's some bonus stages, which those were really fun because I was surprisingly really good at them. But not anymore. I was very disappointed when I wasn't as good on the bonus stage this time around. And what I like too about the game is that like it has this is a bonus game.
Timon, my boy Timon.
Is that it has like the movie soundtrack like in the game, and it also has like these vocalizations in the Super Nintendo version that make it sound like a lot better. But they did add like this level in particular was not in the movie, but I read that this scene was like it was a scene that was scrapped from the final product of the movie. And I always wondered too, like what was going on in this specific scene, because there's at the end there's like this gorilla boss fight that you have to go through, and I was always like, what's the deal with that gorilla? Like, what is this? But the game, it's really fun. The second level is where people have the issue with.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the there you go. I just can't wait to be king level.
The one with the hyenas, okay.
That's be prepared. You'll be prepared.
No, yeah, let's be
I mean,
prepared.
what is so hard about this level?
No, not this level. It's the one.
The second one.
It's the one with the monkeys and the ostrich. That one.
This
that
one?
There you go.
This is it.
Yeah.
This one. Catching them tails is hard.
Yeah. See, I don't have a problem with that. I don't know what it is with everyone else.
Where do you aim to catch it? And if you don't catch it at a certain point, you fall into the water and you die.
And then this is the second part that people have a huge problem with.
Yeah. Sometimes you can press the B button and jump too high and hit the nest. So sometimes you have to, that bit there. That's it there. So I'm just saying, these are the issues that I have issues with. Another issue I have is the Super Nintendo one. Can you see how cropped that screen is?
Oh my god!
You can see what's happening next. The Mega Drive had a bigger resolution. You can see it. And also, even though the games are both simultaneously developed for both platforms, we know it's a Mega Drive game. This is ported to Super Nintendo, man. That's the truth. You can see it because the screen is cropped. It's just the way it is. But there's also a glitch on this second level where you get caught and you just keep going round and round in circles or something on the Super Nintendo version. But that aside, they're the same game on both systems, and I shouldn't complain too much about it. The sound is what the bigger difference is, and also the Mega Drive version doesn't have when they talk when you get game over on this game, you never did, but if you do get game over, you hear Rafiki talk, and when you press continue, he goes, "The king has returned." And the Super Nintendo, and it's actually their voices from the movie they're using as well.
Yeah,
and that's really good for the Super Nintendo version. Sega Mega Drive, I don't remember it having that, but yeah, as a game, I prefer the Mega Drive version, but I can understand that the finishing on the Super Nintendo is better, and that's why this is probably the better version if you want to add those extra features in. Also, the coloring as well, more colors on Super Nintendo. What I will also say is, the sound, I prefer that clearer sound on Mega Drive, but it's exactly the same soundtrack. But it's really interesting listening to that sound in FM synth, and then you're listening to that muffled MIDI sampling that the Super Nintendo has. And for an audiophile like me, I always prefer the Sega one because sound matters a lot more to me, and I prefer that clear FM synthesis sound from the Yamaha sound chip as opposed to that muffled sound that the Sony SBC 700 gave me. Different people have different opinions on that because it's controversial. Because some people like sampled sound; they like to hear real instruments, and that's kind of what the Super Nintendo offers. But there's a flute playing, when it should be a different instrument. So they changed an instrumentation, which is my issue with the game on the Super Nintendo. But that's me splitting hairs. If you like it, you like it. Anyway, yeah.
Oh man, I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, I've listened to the soundtrack on both. I do like the Super Nintendo one better. That's just me. Oh, I just remembered. And this one, when you're young Simba and you do get hit, you actually hear Jonathan Taylor Thomas' voice.
Yeah.
So it's ow. But in the other one, in the Mega Drive one, he doesn't say it. It's just a generic sound.
That's what it is on the Mega Drive.
And then to answer JDM's question, did you sing along when you watched The Lion King recently? I always sing along when I watch The Lion King.
That fight so hard.
I love that soundtrack. I'm not gonna sing, but
the last boss. This is the hardest boss, man. How do you fight Scar, man? You just have to keep going at him, really, and then retreat when you think he's going to come for you. That's basically my tactic when I fought him. But God, he's one of the hardest boss battles, man. I'll tell you that now.
See, I always just go straight for him and pounce him.
Yeah, you just have to go for him, man. That's
yeah.
Because if you play defensive, you're going to lose against Jeremy Irons. He's going to. Yes.
That looks like online cat memes and videos where they just go.
I killed Mufasa.
But my favorite level is probably the Stampede one. I was just really good at it. So yeah.
This is CNN.
That Stampede level, the best one is on the PlayStation because they ported this to PlayStation. And
did they?
Yes, and it's the best port. It's one of the best ports of this game, the PlayStation one, because you have obviously use the enhancements that the PlayStation had as a piece of hardware. And obviously, this game came out in '94. The film came out in '94. PlayStation actually did come out in '94, so you can understand the year coming out on the PlayStation a year later as a release title. So as you can see, there's the Stampede level. You got scrolling on the SNES. And then Mode 7 lends itself to this level, but the PlayStation, you can imagine it's a lot smoother because it can handle this like anything, and it's got more of a more detail. Let's put it that way. But yeah, great. Again, this is a good example of a very good game for movie tie-in. I do think that the balance is off, and that's why I prefer Aladdin to this, because the second level is just so hard. But once you get past the second level, you can beat the game. That's my opinion. The second level is the biggest obstruction to playing this game for so many people, and that's my criticism with it, because of how that level shouldn't have been designed to be that hard, in my opinion. But it is. It's a challenge, and it's not hard. It's hard for stupid reasons, and that's to do with the game design. When you're trying to catch the tails of the hippos and swing to the other ledge, but you have to like catch 3 of them in a row. And if you don't catch and this is the issue that you could argue Aladdin has with the animations, and it's too much animation. You're wondering, where's the grip point? At which point of the tail is Simba supposed to grip? The bottom part, the middle part, the top part, and then you have to make sure it swings in the right place, and you have to time it properly. It's just too much to think about, man. And that's the issue, I think. But I think if you stick with it and you die so many times, which you will do, you'll be as good at this game as this man over here who loves it so much.
And that's how it was back in the old days, you know.
Yeah,
you just kept at it.
It's true. Like there's games I could. You guys were like, Viraj, you're crazy. This game is too hard. But I've played because I only had so many games back then. I kept dying, and I just had to replay them religiously. Now we're sport for choice. But because I do, I forget this. I'm going to play something else. That's where we're at right now. Forget this. The game's too hard. But if you stick with it, it's good. And one thing I did with the Mega Masters, Sedan tasked me to play Revenge of Shinobi and Ghouls and Ghosts the other 2 years ago. I said, no, you got to beat it because we've got to review the game. So they forced me to play this game. These guys have beaten these games. These guys are pro. And I did die a lot. I thought, how the hell, man? This game is too hard. But if you stick with it and you keep going at it, you can become good at it. And Lion King is one of those games. You know, there are parts where you're going to have a difficulty spike, but and you're going to feel like, oh, why am I playing this? Well, I'm going to give up on this. But there's a good game after that difficulty spike. There's a good game in this.
And Reiki boils it down perfectly, Viraj, because it's the circle of life. You know,
you come back, right? So you got to stick with it. You just got to stick with this game, because I think the biggest turnoff will be the second level for a lot of people playing it. Just stick with it, and then you'll find once you get past that second level, it's smooth sailing. That is until you have to fight Scar at the end, but that's another story. Good game, in my opinion. It's a good choice, Lion King. Glad you liked it. Good game by Westwood Studios, Virgin, and Sega, because I think Westwood and Virgin worked together on this one, strangely enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, great little game. All right,
Sir Joe.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of kings, my pick for this topic would be Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, originally released for the Xbox and the PS2. Now,
was it on Cube as well?
I was able to finish this like today, this afternoon, and I watched the original trilogy. Well, the Return of the King came out like 2004, so it's been like 20 years since the
amazing
20 years, right? God damn. So 20 years since I watched the movie, first time on the cinema, and then I watched the DVD soon after when it was released.
You watched the extended cut.
Oh, I haven't.
That's the one to watch, man. You get to see Sauron's mouth and everything. Anyway,
ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, so
that is the only way.
All right, so about this game, okay. So when I first started this game, I thought, okay, people keep saying that this is one of the best Lord of the Rings games out there, and I'm like, hey, it's for the PS2 and the Xbox. So the year's 2000. So we got a lot more going on technology wise in terms of gaming, and one of the things that one of the few things that I like about this game is that how they use the video clips from the movie as a tie-in with this game, and every so often they will show you the some of the clips from the movie, and then they transition seamlessly into 3D game 3D game graphics. And I'm like, okay, I didn't really. Oh, at first I'm like, At first I didn't really notice it, and like, oh, how that was pretty that was pretty creative and clever of the developers when they did that. And so for the characters here, you got everyone. If you're familiar with the trilogy, so you got you can play as Gandalf, Aragorn, the Fellowship, Legolas, Gimli, the Hobbits, Frodo, Samwise, Merry, uh, Pippin, and even Faramir. Oh, um, Mary and so it's Mary, Pippin, Mary Poppins. It's Mary, Pippin, and Faramir. These three characters are unlockable once you finish the game on your first run. Then you can then they then that's the time they will be playable. Uh, if you're the type of person who really wants to play the game based on how the movie transpired, there will be three arches here. So the game starts you off with the Battle of Helm's Deep, when the Rohirrim army from Rohan uh, joins the fray during the Battle of Helm's Deep. So you will first control Gandalf. See how seamless that was. So from the game, from the movie, immediately you're being thrown to the game itself. And one of the things that I didn't particularly like about this game is that the game assumes that you already played the other two video games. The Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers also came out for the PS2. So this is my first playthrough, and the game didn't really teach me anything. There was no tutorial whatsoever on what you're supposed to do and what's the mission objective of the game. You will see some you will just see like like a prompt, what to press, like triangle, what's square, what is circle, what is X, what is L1, what is R2, and all that. But with all of the madness going on, as you can see in the gameplay, it's very hack and slash kind of video game. And and I'm like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do here? Because like I mentioned, I what I'm going here with this is that I'm trying to remember some of the aspects from the movie. I'm not using any walkthroughs here on my first playthrough, and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do again in this level? Because I'm trying to think, I'm trying to remember. So if you press start, and then there will be like mission tips. It will only give you a clue on what you're supposed to do, but it doesn't really tell you where to go exactly. So a lot of times you'll be battling a lot of enemies here: orcs, urukai, trolls. Uh, a lot. Bunch of uh, uh, armies from Isengard and Mordor, and there are a lot of set pieces from the movie that they replicated as much as possible as they could have. And there's no jumping function in this. It's just you running. And I'm like, if you're using Gandalf, right? And Gandalf, for the most part, he's a wizard. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, why is he using a sword? I mean, I'm supposed to be using like magic here, right? And then
You're thinking of D&D rules, Joe, because
Yeah.
wizards can't use swords in D&D. But
no, what I'm saying, well, this is not you, Sir Joel, okay? I mean,
Mhm.
this is not your character. You kick everyone in the balls, right?
That's true.
I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, like,
No,
so
it
he's
makes
not
a good
really
point.
using magic at all. Well, the only time that he uses magic, if you press L1 and X at the same time, he uses his magic projectiles. But that's it. Like, he's not really conjuring like actual magic spells to battle the enemy, as you can see there. So, and one of the things that another thing that I like about this game is that you really need to use all of your so you really need to think and look at your surroundings, because sometimes there are some items out there that you can use to your advantage when you're fighting the enemy. There will be some torches, some spears lying around, um, that you can eliminate your enemies faster. There's some catapults, ballistas out there. Uh, Although I was trying to, I mean, there are some certain scenes in the movie that I hope that I could have seen here. Like for example, in Return of the King in the movies, when they lit the bastions, it wasn't in that scene. It's not you can it's not here in this game. All right. I mean, out of all of the scenes that they could have cut from the movie that they could have included in this game, they chose not to show that one. I mean, it's one of the baddest scene in the movie, right? Lighting the beacons. The beacons are lit. Gondor calls for aid, and Rohan will answer. Nothing. I was waiting for that. Anyway, for every enemy that you defeat, you'll get some experience points. And depending on how well you fought them, depending on whether how many times you got hit, it that will also affect how many experience points that you'll get. Every end of the mission, then you'll get your experience board. The more experience that you'll get, the more chance that you'll be able to purchase some upgrades in your abilities. Okay, like more health, stronger attacks, stronger projectiles, all of that stuff. And the way they did in this game is that because they're trying to make sure that they're trying to be as faithful to the movie, they made it into three compartments, just like the movie did. You got the Path of the Hobbit, where Sam and Frodo tangent away from the Fellowship. You got Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli when they went to get the help from the undead soldiers, and then you got uh, Gandalf's path when he went straight to Gondor, tried to convince the king to fight against Mordor and Isengard. So yeah, and then eventually all three converge all the way when you reach the Black Gates of Mordor. Playing this game for the first hour that I played, I really wanted to watch the extended cut now. The Surfratch point. I really wanted to watch the movie now, like the whole trilogy, the extended cut. If I can find it, well, I'll find it in I'll find it in Pirate Bay.
No,
Okay.
look, look, I hear it. I've got the whole middle on 4K.
There you go. There it is. The trilogy right there.
The
Okay.
artbooks and everything in
Now, you go for the book. You
You go for
read
the
the
book.
entire thing. This is what you do.
Um,
No, you
so
don't.
what?
Really.
So what else to say about this game? Oh, it's kind of it's kind of a cheat. What they're what they
You
did.
got time to read that shit? Ain't nobody's got time for reading that bullshit book.
No,
Try
no,
to-
no, no. All the
Things-
missing scenes, everything that you can do. This is
Well,
what you use.
I'll tell you
Your
something.
imagination, right here. This is what
Well,
you're in. All
You
of
read Harry Potter. You don't read the flipping Lord of the Rings book. Right? But
Harry Potter, my God, you're talking about a villain that can't even beat a school of kids. You're talking, and none of the other magical schools even sent any help from any. They talked about other magical schools all over the world.
and Bo
Voldemort couldn't even beat the school, a school of kids in one school. Anyway,
Harry Potter is
Um,
it's done better than Lord of the Rings. I'll say it now.
oh,
Made more
So-
money. It's the second highest grossing franchise in movie history after the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the video games, there's just more video games than Harry Potter. Fuck Lord of the Rings. They are set. All right. Right? And let's get one thing straight. There's only one return, and it's not of the king, it's of the Jedi. All right, all right. That's it.
So where was I? Oh, like I mentioned, about this game, it is kind of a cheat what they did because they really relied a lot from the movie clips. It's like if they remove all of the full motion video, the FMV sequences here, it's like would it be the same? If not with those clips, because that, like for example, if you already fresh out from the movie and then you want to play this game, because they're showing you the full motion videos, it kind of pumps you up a little bit more. It gives you more suspense. It kind of sets you in to what missions that you're supposed to do. Okay, it set up the stage for the madness that will come. Like especially during some of the set pieces when all of the orcs and all of the urkhas are coming right at you at the same time. And another thing that I hated about this game, okay, nitpick time, rant time. Okay, the AI for this game sucks bullshit. All right. So let's for example, you got three party members, right? So you're controlling your main character, and the other two, they're just there. Most of the time, they're not really doing anything. So, and I'm like, and I was playing normal at first. Okay, maybe if I set the difficulty into hard, maybe they will act more accordingly. But no, a lot of times they will die first during battle because they're not really doing anything helping you to accomplish the mission. So it might as well just you. There's a special there's a stage here, especially um, across the black gates. This is the stage before the final stage, and your job is to keep the fellowship alive. So you need to keep Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli alive against a horde of Mordor's army. So whether you're playing Gandalf, whether you're playing Legolas, whether you're playing Gimli, whether you're playing Aragorn, you must. If any one of them dies, then you have to start the start. You need to start the level all over again, and that's what's annoying. And there's a lot of annoying stages here, really. And but I was able to pull through eventually. Okay, and for what I can tell, from what out of in terms of faithfulness to the movie, then yeah, I can agree. This would be the best video game tie-in movie wise. Okay, yes, there are some quirks that they could have done, that they could have done better, or but hey, it was still fun. The music is pretty reminiscent from the movie itself. It really gets you going. There are also some interviews that you will unlock as far as you go. Like Elijah Wood, Sir Ian McKellen, Christopher Lee. They did. Oh, speaking of which, all of the original cast from the movie, they voiced everything in this game as well. So when you unlock some of those interviews, the actors will tell you. They're trying to sell their characters. Like for example, Frodo, Elijah Wood, he'll say, in Return of the King, I was away from the Fellowship, so I'm I'm arguably the weakest guy because I'm not really doing much fighting. But here in this video game, you can use my character to fight the orcs and the Urkai, which is cool. Basically, he's like that. And Christopher Lee, the voice of Saruman, he's also. Although Saruman here will be featured more on the Battle of Helm's Deep, you will only hear Christopher Lee on that side of the game, in the very beginning. But the way he did his interview, he sounded like he's the final boss Uh, uh, he kind of made it sound like that. Oh, and also Andy Serkis, the actor for Gollum. He's also here as an uh, 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 he's here for the unlockable interview. Um, he, when he described how the game developers had to put him in the game and how he acted he voice acted Gollum, and the motion capture for the actual sprite for Gollum as well. So there are a lot of things here. As far as being being faithful from the movie. Yeah. Yes, this game is indeed one of the best uh, movie based video game out there.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah, Return of the King for the PS2 and Xbox.
it was also on the GameCube as well. I'd like to add, what you
GameCube.
hating on Nintendo for, but yeah, it was also on PC, and there was also a Game Boy Advance port on this as well.
I was not aware. Not hating, but
I'm just messing about. Yeah, a very popular game. I remember selling so many. I don't know if this one went platinum. I think it did. I remember selling so many copies of this because, again, like with Enter the Matrix, it was a packing deal that we could sell PlayStation 2s with. And Lord of the Rings was seen as, I think it's the best in the trilogy of Lord of the Rings. I know it's one story, but I really liked, obviously, look, hang on, it's my box that I own it. So it's on 4K. I got it on 4K. So I'm a big fan of the film series. The extended cuts are the way to watch it. I would recommend, if you've got the time for it, because they are long films, but there's a lot more content in there, and it's more of a complete experience. So definitely give them a go, Sir Joe, because there's some really good stuff in there. What I will also say is that the games were pretty much solid for what they were. They all did very well, and this is actually a very good choice when it came to sort of cinematic gameplay. My only critique with it is just the nature of it. It's a very dark game in terms of the color palette. You're like, you need to have a bright TV to see this stuff. Other than that, yeah, you can't go wrong. A lot of people love this game. I never played it, but I saw lots of people playing it, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun.
I said in the group chat, this game is basically this is a D&D video game done right.
Yeah,
saying that, I haven't really played the other games that might resemble D&D, but this is very D&D as it could get.
My brother loves strategy RTS strategy games, and there's a one called Battle for Middle Earth for PC based on Lord of the Rings. So if you like Command and Conquer, well, this is like the Command and Conquer of Lord of the Rings, and Battle for Middle Earth is definitely one to check out for sure. Definitely a very good game. I saw him playing. He goes, "So what are you doing?" But they're my mama kills. What's a mama kill? And he knew all about all the, because he's read the books. My brother, he's a nerd like you, Sir Joe. So he loves the books. But he really did love the Battle for Middle Earth. I'd see him playing on it for hours and hours. So that's one that's definitely worth. There's also Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. I don't know if you remember that game that came out, and that was there as well. That assisted the original trilogy in success and keeping the franchise relevant. Definitely games worth checking out. And you can get this for cheap as well for PS2. You can get it for like £10, £5 or whatever, or maybe 15, depending on the condition. You can get it cheap for PS2, Xbox. It's what I find really interesting is the GameCube version of the game is expensive for understandable reasons. But yeah, give it a go. Definitely a good one worth checking out. All right. I think we're pretty much done, haven't we?
There they go.
Yeah. I think we're pretty much done. Everyone gave their game choices. So today we talked movie games, and we all have our favorites. So they're not all bad, except for the ones we did mention that were bad. I might try some of the ones you guys said. The Terminator one looks fun.
Yeah, give it a go.
Home Alone. I always wanted to play that Lord of the Rings game, but I just never got to it. So, and then I have Legos the Skywalker Saga, so I've been meaning to play that. So
give it a go. Give it a go, Jose. It's really, really fun. It's a time sink. There's lots to do, and it's so much enjoyment to be had. Honestly.
Yeah, those Lego games are always fun. I remember I got stuck on Lego Batman, and I had to get everything. I had to 100% the game.
Oh yeah.
So
And the Lego Batman movie is no slouch either. If you watch it, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. All right, so I think that's it for this episode, Sir Joe.
All right, thank you for that, guys. And that is the show. Oh, before we end, let's hear from our sponsors. Sponsors. Let's hear from our affiliates, BitMap and Streamyard. Do you like playing video games? Do you like reading about history? Do you like learning about video game history? Then you should give yourself the gift of owning some video game history books from BitMap. Since 2014, BitMap Books have published numerous colorful and well-detailed hardbound books about video games ranging from the different video game consoles of old and the various video game genres that will surely pique the interest of its core fanbase. BitMap's team of global video game journalists, players, and illustrators have produced numerous award-winning titles that celebrate the software, hardware, and developers that laid down the foundations for the billion-dollar video game industry we all know and love today. International shipping is also available with careful and considerate packaging from BitMap Books. If you don't want to take my word for it, then you can believe the people, almost 10,000 satisfied customers who submitted their glowing written reviews and video reviews after receiving their books from BitMap. By ordering your first BitMap book using our link, you will also be supporting the Timeless Gamers Show in spreading our love of video games and their rich history. Start your own online live streams, webinars, podcasts, online classes, and virtual presentations with Streamyard. By using Streamyard's user-friendly interface, you can also do simultaneous multi-streaming if you have accounts to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and other platforms. If live streaming is not your style, video and audio recordings are also available, especially with those who have variable and inconsistent internet connections. The finished output will still come out as clear and well articulated exactly as you originally intended. You can also customize the appearance of your presentation, like green screen effects, facial touch-ups to smoothen out those facial blemishes, multiple cameras for multiple guests joining in the discussion, your own wallpaper on the background, adding your own logo as a watermark, sharing videos from your own computer or other website for added visual aids with or without audio, uploading your own background music if you wish to set the mood when talking, and lots more. Before you can enjoy all of the wonderful full features of StreamYard, you can start with a 14-day free trial by using our link. Not only that you are supporting the Timeless Gamer Show, but you can see it for yourself how easy it is using StreamYard. Alright, let's do our shameless plugs. Let's start with Miss I. Where can they find ya?
You can find me on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Well, Facebook not really, just mostly posts. I stream very randomly and scarcely, so find me when you can.
All right, thank you for that, Miss I, and of course, Sir Viraj.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube under Sega Mega Masters. There's a few videos that we've got up there. Find me on the Sega Genesis group on Facebook. And you can also find me on Twitter or the X handle Bygone Games UK, where I buy and sell video games, and you can see my collections I've collected and uploaded for you there. All right, back to you, Sir Joe.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Viraj, and of course, Sir Joel.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching our episode of video games based on movies. You can find me streaming every now and then on twitch.tv, though much less frequently over there, and on kick.com. Recently I've been trying out Rumble as a streaming platform. I think I like it. I might try hanging around there. Go to rumble.com, look for Banyaga Native. You'll find me streaming there. Retro games, modern games, all the different games that I fancy for that particular day. Again, as always, hashtag FUFB, never again. But yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys whenever I get the chance. Back to you, Joe.
All right. FU, FB. And of course, the director for this episode, Sir Jose.
Hey guys, I'm on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, anything else as Dark Othic Fate. I'm gonna pick up streaming again next week, so I will be more on Twitch for the time being, and then I will try to branch out back to my other streaming platforms, which I'm gonna try Rumble, and then I want to get back on TikTok as well.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir Jose. And of course, we also want to give thanks to some of our chat members down there. We got Sir Jason, Ray Q, Borokanoika, Sir Marlon, and Sir JDM's down there as well. And Sir Derek, Retro Gaming Times, is down there. And yeah, that's all, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Next week will be all about emulation, which will be led by Sir Viraj down there. And that's it. And as always, our games in our bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain. Hey,
Timeless. All right. Enjoy the weekend, guys. See you next week. Have a good time. And don't forget to comment in the videos, even after the live show. Bye.
Bye-bye.